Rachel Reeves is in big trouble. The latest figures show the economy grew by 0.1% in the final quarter of 2025, meaning that overall, the economy grew by around 1.3% last year. These sluggish figures show the UK is on track for its worst decade of growth in around 100 years. The last time expansion was this small was during the 1920s, when Britain was recovering from the First World War, and that is saying something. The services sector saw no growth in the final quarter, while the construction sector witnessed its worst performance in more than 4 years, which isn't too great for Labour's ambitious plans to build 1.5 million homes by the end of Parliament.
Thanks very much for being here this morning. And it's great to be at BT and celebrate the £5 billion investment that they're putting into the economy to improve people's broadband and our digital infrastructure, which is absolutely essential for economic growth, for productivity and for living standards. And we now have the numbers for 2025, and it shows the economy grew by 1.3% last year, up on the previous year, and crucially, an acceleration in GDP per capita. After falling in the last Parliament, it increased by 1% over the last year. At the budget last year, I said that I wanted to cut the cost of debt, cut inflation and create the conditions for growth. And we are doing just that, with 6 cuts in interest rates, with inflation heading back towards a target, with money coming off of energy bills in April this year, and the planning and infrastructure bill encouraging investment. We can't turn things around overnight, but we have created the conditions now for the economy to grow, and it is doing just that. I'm confident that the decisions that we have made to return stability to the economy, to bring investment to our economy, and the changes we're making around planning and regulation will help deliver stronger growth this year, building on the economic growth that we've seen in 2025.
While growth across 2025 as a whole was slightly up on the previous year at 1.3%, it's still lower than the 1.4% expected by the Bank of England and most economists. Budget uncertainty added a lot of pressure to growth in the final quarter. This is the second budget in a row with an incredibly dismal lead-up, which significantly impacted investor confidence. And the results were evident. Business investment witnessed a steep fall in the final quarter, marking the biggest decline in 4 years at 2.7%. Labour has been confidently parading its plan for change around, but are we seeing much worth shouting about? Probably not.
That is up on the previous year, and we also managed to beat the forecasts at the beginning of last year that thought the economy would grow less strongly than we have been able to achieve.
18 months.
Yes, and we beat the forecasts.
Still stuck in a low gear, isn't
it? We beat the forecasts. We've grown more strongly than the other European countries in the G7. And as I said in the budget, what we need to do is cut the cost of debt, improve living standards and create the conditions for growth. And as BT have said today, because of that stability that we've returned to the economy, they've invested £5 billion in upgrading and updating our digital infrastructure so it is fit for the modern world of work and provides great services to customers.
Wes Streeting and many of your own backbench MPs lack confidence in your economic strategy. Are you willing to change it?
Wes Streeting said yesterday that he was wrong in his text messages to Peter Mandelson because the economy has grown this year, because interest rates have come down 6 times. We have a plan. We have a plan to grow our economy, and that plan is beginning to deliver. The cuts to interest rates mean that people getting a new mortgage are paying something like £1,400 less on average than they would have paid at the beginning of this Parliament. Inflation is coming back down to target. People will get £150 off their bills from April this year. So we are delivering. We are putting more money in people's pockets. Is there more to do? Absolutely, which is why we've we've reformed the planning system to make it easier to build in Britain. It's why we are reducing the regulatory burden to make it easier for businesses to invest in Britain. It is why we're putting money in people's pockets of working families by improving the childcare available to parents of young children. All of these things are good for productivity, are good for growth. We beat the forecasts this year for growth, last year for growth, and I am confident and determined to beat them again.
And you're not going to change strategy, just to be clear about that.
We've got the right economic plan. It's beginning to deliver for people in our country, and we'll be sticking to that plan.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Well, the growth figures are very disappointing. In fact, if you look at growth per capita, the size of the economy per person, it's actually shrunk in the last quarter and the quarter before that, and that's because of the government's choices. Far too high taxes on businesses, that's killing growth, borrowing lots of money, spending lots of money, keeping inflation higher than it would otherwise be, with interest rates higher as a consequence. All of that is weighing on the economy, and what we really need to see is gripping public spending, particularly welfare, people off benefits and into work, and cutting taxes on business.
Last week, the Bank of England reduced its growth forecast for the next 10 years.
So what we need to do is to really focus on controlling public spending, particularly getting the welfare bill down, getting people off benefits and into work. And if you do that, you then get the space to be able to bear down on the size of our debt, which is very large, but equally to get taxes down, particularly on businesses. And if you can do that, then you can grow the economy.
Hands up if you believed Rachel Reeves when she said she wasn't going to put a tax on working people. No! Yeah, I didn't think so. Apparently 1 in 10 people think Rachel Reeves is doing a good job. Who are these people? I haven't met them. She promised not to put a tax on working people. Apparently farmers aren't working people. Apparently anyone who has a job isn't a working person, because they put up the jobs tax, and look at what's happened. Unemployment has risen every single month since Labour came into office. It is what Labour does. Ducks quack, cows moo, Labour puts up taxes. We need to get spending under control. That is the only way we're going to get the economy back on track. Control spending. We've offered to help Labour, but they haven't taken our offer of help. Instead, they're making more and more of a mess. Just this morning, we've seen the news. Rachel Reeves apparently has broken a law, just like Angela Rayner before her and Louise Haigh before her. All we see is the Labour cabinet making mistakes, breaking laws. If the Chancellor can't even get it on top of her own paperwork, how's she going to get on top of the country's paperwork? So that is why our message is simple. If she puts up tax, give Reeves the axe.